Hello, hello. This is Irene with SaugaTalks. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you. If you're not following SaugaTalks on LinkedIn, you should do it right now, just to get it out of the way. Also, you can watch us on Twitter. There are small snippets of wisdom out there. There's YouTube channel. So please contact us, connect with us, because I speak weekly with fascinating people in tech. Okay, and we discuss incredibly important topics, all the way from artificial intelligence to automation to FinOps to metaverse, Web3, and beyond. So I'm incredibly lucky because my guest here today is Olivier Gomez. Olivier, how are you?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely, the pleasure is mine, Olivier. I was following you for a long time now, I believe, because you are hugely important influencer in the field of intelligent automation. So that's what we're going to discuss today, the space. But guess what? It's not going to be all about technology, or maybe it's not going to be about technology. Maybe it's about how companies can get advantage of the technology for better ROI, for the better outcomes. So I'm extremely excited about this talk today. So Olivier, a couple of words before we start. Why intelligent automation in 2023? Again, field is not new, right? But there's so many exciting things going on. So can we kind of go into the topic, just highlighting intelligent automation as discipline?
Yes. So again, automation is not new. We remember back in the days, many years ago, people scripting, and they did not call it automation, but it was. I think the big difference in 2023 is the level of maturity that we have and the size of the ecosystem attached to intelligent automation, plus the huge amount of use cases that we have that are basically demonstrating that it works, it's making a difference, and it's becoming extremely critical and strategic for large and small companies.
Beautiful. And you know what? I love the word agnostic. When tech leaders using a term agnostic, that means technology is at the heart of transformational efforts, but it's not everything. Okay. So tech agnostic, business centric approach. Why is
Yes.
it so important for you? And you talk about it a lot. I mean, I'm following you
Yes.
everywhere. Yep.
Yes, this is a very important point, and I keep saying to people, do not fall in love with technology. I know we are surrounded with people who like to talk about tools, who like to basically play with tools, and are always attracted by new shiny objects. But what is important to understand is above and beyond the technology, obviously we have a need to understand the value and the impact of those technology in the business environment, right? So the way to do this is really to and for some people it is an effort, right? But it's really to move ahead the business conversation, move ahead the non-technology part of the conversation, and leave the technology for a later phase when you do solutioning, when you try to, because again, if you start with the tool, you're going to try to build around it, right? And you know what we say, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So we don't want to be in those situations. We really want to be in a situation where we understand the business, the expectation, we are able to project the impact that we are looking for, and then we can select what tool and basically what technology makes sense for what we are trying to achieve from a business standpoint.
Wonderful. Thank you for reminding. Okay, these are basic principles. Okay, but it's important to keep hearing about it because, again, technology is a driver in many organizations right now. Right, some call them a unicorn. All right, but we've seen so many examples in the past when you think that new technology is a new savior, when you're going to be solving your business problems with new technology. So can you maybe share a couple of anecdotes from your experience out there? What worked, what didn't work, in a way that, is it technology and business pain points and solving customers' issues? Or it's like you becoming another like driven organization with implementing the latest and then probably failing if you're not doing it right?
Yes. So you will always have, different type of companies, those that are willing to take risk and go for innovation, which is great, right? And you have some other companies that are a bit more skeptical, I would say, and they want to wait for a technology to be well proven before they introduce it in the environment because they see it as a risk. I would say, I like company taking risk. I like company looking at innovation, but at the same time, I've seen so often, right, groups, organization, departments being dropped a new technology and having to do something with it, right? And that can lead to a disaster. First, from a return on investment standpoint, right? Sometimes you end up having lots of those tools on the shelf because you don't know what to do with them. We all know that, if I take RPA as an example, there's still 50 to 60% of the licenses, RPA licenses across all vendors ever sold are still on the shelf. So, that's a risk for the ROI. But more than that, it's basically going to force people to focus on the new shiny object, drop their roadmap, drop what makes sense for the business, and try to articulate what to do with that new stuff, right? So again, my view here is it's great to understand, to evaluate, to try to leverage, new technology, new waves. You don't want to miss the train, obviously, but at the same time, you got to be really careful how you approach that, right? So again, a very simple rule of thumb here is, you can start when the technology is in a initial phase, innovation phase. You can start with a small project, but before you consider scaling seriously, you really want to make sure that you understand how this technology is going to make a difference. In a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is you got to have the use cases very well defined, very well understood. You got to have the impact very well defined, very well understood before you go into, marching towards scaling a piece of technology without understanding, what it will do to your business.
I know you talk a lot about outcome-based and gain share model. Why is that?
Yeah, so this is a very simple way to again avoid all those pitfalls and basically allow a company to really focus on the result, right? The way I believe makes sense is to and by the way, other industries are doing that already for decades, right? I mean, give you an example. If you are going to hire a lawyer, most likely you're going to have a gain share model where the lawyer is going to ask, I don't know, 10-20% of whatever you're going to make by winning. So the point here is, I think this is a very healthy approach. Not only it is de-risking the company that is basically investing money, because instead of paying upfront for technology, paying upfront for people, and hoping / praying that something will happen, they have a way to contractually have some sort of security, meaning result have to be there, outcome has to be there for the provider to be fully paid. So I think this is very healthy. And at the same time, it's also forcing everyone to not make the technology mistake, meaning to really articulate clearly what is the expected outcome, to try to put a rough order of magnitude around that impact. Whether it is going to be at the bottom of the P&L, whether it's going to be at the top of the P&L, whether it's going to be both, because you can not only improve cost, but you can also improve quality, satisfaction, and revenue while you improve cost. This is doable. And the point being here is, I think having this outcome-based approach is really helping everyone visualize why we do this, and it's also forcing everyone to naturally collaborate, because now everyone has the same goal, everyone has the same understanding of what the output, what the result should be. So again, I'm a big advocate of that, and this is versus buying old school, meaning licenses or even subscription plus effort, a T&M type of model, times and material, right? So I think there's ways in 2023 to buy technology the same way you are buying electricity. You basically buy the outcome, which is the electricity, right? You buy and it works, and your TV is on, and your fridge is on, and you don't care about how it's produced or how it goes to your house. So this is really the idea here. I want to buy an expected outcome, and I want to contractually have everyone focus on that outcome, and everything else, meaning including technology, is basically a means to an end.
Very sound strategy, Olivier, absolutely. And I know you sometimes talk about 3 phases in intelligent automation initiative. So is it discovery, build, and automation apps, meaning that 3 boxes? What can you say about each of these phases and stages? Because it's a different talent group, right? It's a different mindset in each of these phases.
Yes. So I think the community is a community that likes to build stuff. You would even see, when you have a build versus buy strategy within a corporation, there's always a tendency for people internal to the company to push for building because it's cool to build. It's cool to play with.
Exactly.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
And this phase, this build phase, is very well covered by a lot of vendors, a lot of very good technical people, and they all want to build stuff, which is great. What I highlight with those 3 phases is that there's something upstream and downstream of building a solution, and those are at least equally important. And sometimes I feel that there's a bit less focus on those, right? So the first phase, which is the discovery phase, which is starting to become quite important nowadays. People understand that they need to correctly discover the environment, use the data, or create data using task mining type of technology to really be able to understand the digital blueprint of what the people are doing, and to really be able to correctly identify where to focus, where to go and start, how to prioritize, what needs to be automated. This is extremely important, and I would argue that this is even more important than the build phase, because it's very good to start running in a direction and to run really fast, but it's better if you make sure that you basically run in the right direction, right? So see the discovery phase as the compass that is basically going to tell you where to go. And then once you know exactly where you want to go, because you've done a data-driven analysis, not just a gut feeling type of approach, which is also sometimes an issue. Once you have a properly made assessment, discovery, data analysis, and there's plenty of tools nowadays to help here, and you really know what you want to do, then you can build exactly according to priorities, right? And then the last phase, which is a very, very important phase, right? Building all those stuff, I call them stuff, is really, really good. But then those stuff, they have to run, because when you create a set of software robots, when you create logics that you deploy across your different tools that you embed inside your environment, when you have, at the end of the day, a digital workforce that is starting to do activity for you, sometimes business critical activity for you, the last thing you want is for those robots to stop working. And we know that in the ecosystem, in the intelligent automation ecosystem, some technology are more reliable than others, right? And some ways of doing the integration are more reliable than others, and people know that. I'm not going to go into the details, but the point is, no matter what you are going to roll out in your environment, it has to work. So the run and maintain phase, what I call the automation ops phase, basically making sure the digital workforce is up and running, and having the right tooling, the right people, the right service around it is absolutely critical. So yes, very often I say, it's great to focus on build, but it's even better to focus on discovery and on run and maintain, because those are very critical phases that very often people tend to forget.
I follow a lot of intelligent automation experts and speak to some of them, all right? And everybody pointing out that in 2023, data-driven automation, will be really hot, right? Everyone talks about data. And yet I hear about a talent shortage. That data, what kind of balance you think organizations should have in to be able successfully implement the initiative, to kind of, having the goal in front of them at the same time, really planning, around talent available, resources available, and what's like the good balance there?
Yes, this is a very, very good question. Um, I think there's a number of things here. First of all, within an environment, within a company, data is all over the place, and it's sometimes scattered all over the place. It's sometimes, with a quality that can be, discussed. It's sometimes with a level of completeness that can be discussed. Very often, the data is not fully structured. It's at best semi-structured. At worst, fully unstructured. So you have all this data, and there's a number of things that company can do to simplify, standardize, consolidate, clean the data. But there's only so much they can do from the inside of the company, right? So the good thing is there's both services and product available nowadays that can help, clean the data, understand the data, and sometimes even create data when the data is not available, right? So this is also, an important point here to realize, right? So again, the point being here is it has to be a data-driven. Why? Because the operational data, the transactional data, is going to help you understand exactly how the business is running. Is going to help you understand exactly what the people are doing. We know that the larger the corporation, the more disconnect there is between the written standard, the written processes, the written cookbooks, and the reality on the floor, right? So I think this is really important to understand that nowadays, 2023, fully digitized world, having data is critical, and then having the means to understand the data, even if the data is ugly, even if the data is not yet fully fluid, is really important, right? So my advice here is that there is obviously a need to drive consolidation into a lake, to drive standards so that the data is as structured as possible, as complete as possible. But there's also a need, to basically get help from experts, from data scientists, from the right platform, to really buy time and to really make sure that the analysis is done correctly, right? So again, it's a very, very critical step in the digital transformation of any company. And my point here is, this is something that has to be top priority, and this is something where you really don't want to be shy and asking for external help. Making sure that you identify the right partners to help you understand this data, because once you understand this data, the map is going to be clear. Your GPS will start working, and then you will be able to drive where it makes sense. This is really, really critical.
So looks like everybody's imagination is taken by ChatGPT. Okay, this becomes another buzzword that everyone have to now infuse in whatever, in blogs and videos everywhere, right? And I see two types of content around ChatGPT: either people who are really embracing the opportunity and already publishing how to best use it, for your small business, for your organizations, for marketing, for sales, for supply chain, even everywhere, right? Content creation everywhere. Or there's another bunch of course, content out there that just scaring people off, saying, hey, ChatGPT is a new robot. It's taking up our lives, not even our jobs, right? So in between, finding this kind of healthy balance, where do you think, we kind of should be in as a rational individuals over here?
Yeah. Again, there's always, every year, there's, the latest and greatest movie, the latest and greatest music, and there's always the latest and greatest technology. People who have been around for a little while, they can probably see, those patterns and the waves of technology coming up. I can obviously use blockchain as an example, right, which was meant to totally disrupt and change everything. Automation, by the way, was also, a couple of years ago, and now it is ChatGPT. So I think this is obviously good. that there's that level of innovation, because obviously the progress here is just amazing in terms of what those models can do, right? We could also go into the level of details that will start highlighting, as always with new technology, some potential concerns. But I don't think that this is really relevant, right? The only point I would like to raise here is obviously what's really important for any AI model is to understand the data, the source of data that is utilized to feed the model, to feed the engine, right? And I think that what is really important here is to make sure that when we have a great model, a great engine, we feed data that are data that has a level of accuracy that is, or a level of validation that is high enough, that is good enough. But and this is just a personal concern here, but the point being here is this is great technology. Now every new startup, every new CTO, every new innovation lab is now tasked to embed that new technology inside their product, inside their roadmap, no matter what. And obviously we know that the truth is always going to be, it depends, right? I believe that there will be some areas, some use cases that will be greatly disrupted by ChatGPT. I don't believe that the entire world is going to go upside down because there's a new model here in place. I think this is all healthy. This is all good. Now, do you have to drop everything you are doing to leverage that API and absolutely try to embed that inside your product? I am not sure, right? So again, when you go and you look at all the AI startup, all the ecosystem around AI today, and you deep dive inside the business model, you deep dive inside the use cases, you can obviously see that some have, a really well-defined, really good understanding of how they want to leverage ChatGPT to really disrupt and really create a product that will be amazing for users. And you see maybe a lot of others that are basically surfing the wave, right? So my view here is first understand the technology, not just the hype around it, because a lot of people are talking about it and they don't really understand. It's like this magic black box that is supposed to do amazing stuff. Understand the technology, spend the time, spend the hours, do the effort to understand what it is and what it is not. Understand the roadmap also from OpenAI and all the competitions. And then basically, the decision to change your priorities, to disrupt your roadmap, and to try to integrate ChatGPT inside your product has to be, very well discussed and very well agreed across, right? I would say, obviously, the closer to your product, the closer to the data your product is, the better it is for ChatGPT, right? So again, I'm not going to give an example, but I'm close to some company and I see them trying to embed ChatGPT and somehow challenging why they are doing that, right? So my view here is this is great. It's super exciting. The API is great. The tenfold or 100x improvement versus what we saw before is really, really mind blowing. But let's make sure that we really understand how to best utilize that tool and what is the use case, what is the business impact you are trying to achieve, right? So for me, just to close here, super excited about this. I just want to make sure that people do their homework and they really understand the technology before they jump on it.
A great tool in preparation for this talk today. Give an example. I entered the prompt to ChatGPT asking about intelligent automation ROI and better outcomes. Okay, what will it come up for me? Kind of preparing myself to this conversation. Yes. And yes. It came up with very proper, I would say, answer. Mm-hmm. It's such a vanilla answer that I'm not going to be used it as it is. Just to start with the first sentence, automation technology can provide a variety of benefits for business, including increased efficiency, reduced cost, and improved accuracy. Okay, yes. We cannot argue with that. One more sentence. The return of investment for automation technology can vary depending on the specific technology and the use case. exactly what you two said, right? But
Yes,
I'm
yes,
not going to be using these sentences just blindly because this is like what it is, right? This is the open door to the next kind of prompting you for your creativity, right? But
yes,
it's a very plausible answer. What do you think?
yes. And it's actually my kids, they love it
Yep.
because the way they do homework is, and the teachers, they have a headache now because they need to understand whether it was really written by a human or not, and sometimes it's not that simple, right? So I think this is great. I mean, for example, there's hundreds of books on Amazon that have been written or co-written by ChatGPT, and people are selling it. The risk here, obviously, is that you will end up having a bot talking to another bot. You're going to have a Chat GPT enabled bot talking to another Chat GPT, enabled bot. And at the end of the day, again, there will be a situation where this is perfect. And there will be a situation where, again, the value will be limited because, as you said, it's going to be very generic, very plain vanilla. And also, I come back to that point. We need to make sure we understand the data source for all those statements.
Exactly, exactly. Good times, exciting times for sure. All right. But as with any other tool, I'm preaching to the choir here. As with any other tool, let's understand the tool, right? But at the same time, it's too early to say that, hey, the chatbot taking up the world. Not yet. Not yet. So let's become
But
smarter because of it.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, but the bubble is cool, right? We need bubble
Very
of
cool.
excitement, and people like to surf those bubble, and I mean, nothing wrong with that, right?
And
I
look at
mean,
business
it's.
opportunities, right? You said some of your friends already implementing, they're already
Mhm,
looking. That means they're already discovering something
mhm,
next. All
mhm.
right. And all these new companies and new tools, progressing us forward. This is a great time we're
Yes,
living in.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
kids
And
will
kids
kids
and
will
kids.
appropriate all those concept that for older people like us might be more difficult to understand. For them, this is a given already, and this is their world. And I'm sure if your kids will leverage the API and do amazing stuff. So this is great. I love it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as ChatGPT told us, you know what? Intelligent automation is all about technology and use cases. You mentioned use cases before. Could you please share in conclusion of our conversation few shiny, like good, practical use cases that you saw working, that you saw company implementing and getting great results because of it?
Yes, this is actually the most important thing here is how we use technology. And that's why this technology agnostic approach to use cases is very important, because ultimately we don't care what technology was used. What we care is, how we use it and what it means. I think I'm going to try to select a couple of examples, right? So around cost, right? When I look at typical call centers, when I look at typical support environment that are basically managing tens of thousands of tickets, the typical call center, main category of tickets is called password reset, because when people go on holidays, guess what? They forget their password because they had good time and they totally don't remember, the password. The point here, this is the perfect example of, area where some companies are not yet fully on top of all those tickets. And the intelligent automation, I have an example where we deployed about 30 different use cases against a support environment, and we basically automated the ticket volume by half, meaning half of the ticket volume is now not touched by a human anymore, right? So again, I think this is best example of what technology can do. When you have large volume of repetitive ticket, I forgot my password, I cannot access I don't know, the SharePoint, my disk is full, my internet is slow, the Wi-Fi doesn't work, blah, 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 right? So this is perfect example of where technology can make a huge difference, because guess what? The guy on L1 support center, level 1 support center, closing the same ticket, all day long, would like to do something a bit more challenging. And if there is in front of them a robot, a software layer, a digital workforce layer that can go and handle all those very repetitive, very boring, very simple tickets, this is actually good news for for the level one guys that will end up doing a bit more than just copy and paste. Another very important example where we see significant improvement. We worked in a financial department, and where we were able to using automation to greatly improve response time. I think response time is very often a problem where it's very difficult when you get a lot of requests. Let's say you have clients or you have internal employees. Let's say you're an HR department. You get a lot of requests. It's very difficult to prioritize them correctly and then to ensure, proper response time to the most critical, the most important request, right? Very often when you look at SLA's report, whether it's internally managed or externally managed by a partner, it is extremely difficult, what we call severity one, priority one type of request. It's very important, that we are able to really do a good job with response time. The perception here to the client, if they place a request for an order and it gets fulfilled in 2 days versus it gets fulfilled in 1 hour, is totally different, right? We can see how Amazon is really the king of that, right? And not only they are able to deliver on time, but very often they make sure they deliver before the expected date, so you get a nice surprise. And the point here is automation can help a lot improving response time and making sure that all those requests, all those orders, all those issues that are raised by clients, users, employees are really processed in a matter of minutes instead of hours or sometimes days, right? So I think this is really important to picture that this is really bringing satisfaction. It's really bringing quality to the environment. And again, think about all those poor guys that used to handle all those orders manually, and they were working against an SLA, against a clock being shot because the SLA was red. I think the technology is really helping, doing a good job at fixing that and at scale, right? So you can have organization with tens of thousands of orders to fulfill, tens of thousands of requests to onboard a new employee, for example. The experience you give to an employee here is going to be critical, and if you are able to do that smoothly, and if the response time across a different step is good, the employee is going to have a great experience even before they entered the office, right? I think this is really important, because people should see that as this is going to change how my clients is going to see my company. The perception, the image of your brand is going to be totally different if you correctly and seriously implement those technology in your environment, right? So I can only say, make sure that this is fully leveraged. Make sure that you have the right people helping you inside your company, outside your company, because this is truly going to disrupt the bottom and the top line of your P&L.
We will be talking about use cases all the time here at SaugaTalks for sure, because this is the exact conversation that helps that software to move from the shelf to production, to hands of people, and to really benefiting customers as well as organizations themselves. Otherwise, as you're saying, all the spending on technology is just sitting there dead without finding this potential use case where business can see the benefit and can really flourish and grow. Intelligent automation initiative, don't you think?
Yes, 100%. And actually, when you look at how people are nowadays selling tools, they sell tools through use cases and through the impact of those use cases. They even open the door without having to talk about their tools. I mean, that's a smart way of doing that. And by articulating the top most important use case for a given vertical, a given industry, a given department, a given situation. This is absolutely critical, right? I think that those who will have the largest library of use cases will win, right? I think this is absolutely, paramount. It's really making a huge difference. So yes, use cases, technology agnostic use cases are, gold mine to people, 100%.
This is great. This is great. To conclude our conversation, I would like to ask you there, Olivier. So thank you very much for your time. This is amazing. I'm having fabulous time discussing technology and technology agnostic approach. All right. But in conclusion, can we please maybe share a few takeaways? Okay. Because we talked about models, we talked about different phases and initiatives, we talked about use cases and shiny technology out there. All right. So few key takeaways that you want this conversation to be remembered by.
Yes. Thanks for that. So number one, again, this is really important. And if you guys can remember that, don't fall in love with the technology, focus on the business impact and understand, articulate the business impact before you go into any technology conversation. Number two, don't focus on just building stuff, make sure that you understand, upstream what needs to be done, and downstream how you are going to support it, because this is a new digital workforce ecosystem that you are going to embed in your company, and it has to run, it has to basically deliver, and you cannot afford to have those robots stop. So this is the two really important things. And then I would say the third here is think about challenging how you interact nowadays with your partners, right? So again, if partners are selling you licenses, subscriptions, and people effort, I think you should be challenging and starting to move towards what I call an outcome-based model, because I believe that will really change how you collaborate, and it will really de-risk a lot of your projects. So for me, those are the three things, right? If you do those three things, I think the way you are going to approach technology projects is going to be totally different. The level of return on investment is going to be totally different, and your capability to make your CFO smile is going to be also totally different.
Beautiful. Thank you, Olivier, so very much for this talk today. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.